Hello, friends. So I'll be talking on this new molecule, Biapenem. So it's a new drug that has come. So it's a new carbapenem, as you can see. So we need to see whether this holds promise in the light of emerging resistance across the globe. So I'll just give a brief overview on what this drug is all about, whether it holds promise, because we already have few carbapenems. So whether this would be an addition to the existing armamentarium. So when we look at the background, so we do have serious infections with ventilator-associated pneumonia or hospital-acquired pneumonia. And then we do have severe infections due to intra-abdominal infections and UTI. So one of the unique aspects of these infections, especially when it occurs as an hospital-acquired, is they can be polymicrobial. So I'm sure most listeners would agree when you have an intra-abdominal infection, we do put them on a carpet bombing sort of an antibiotics covering gram positive, gram negative, and anaerobes. So we need to have some coverage for all these bugs with a single antibiotic. So most of the times it could be polymicrobial when it is hospital acquired and which is associated with increased morbidity and mortality. And in this polymicrobial, suppose we have a VAP and we start only on gram negative cover without a good gram positive cover, and then we realize it is possibly a gram positive MRSA that is caused, that would obviously have a bearing or increase in the mortality. So inappropriate treatment can lead to treatment failure and concomitant increase in the morbidity and mortality. So any clinician treating such infection should be aware. So where is the site of this infection and what is the possible organism that he would have in mind to identify which is the antibiotic that one needs to initiate. And another important aspect clinicians should bear in mind is whether these organisms that one grows is whether it's a colonizer or truly an infection. Most of this can be problematic when 2-3 bugs get isolated from the DPT culture or a tracheostomy tube culture. So it becomes difficult as to which organism one should be targeting to treat. And clinicians should have some fair knowledge about the prevailing bugs that is existing in his hospital and the antibiogram and the sensitivity pattern of this. So all these three dimensions is something that clinicians should be aware to determine the choice of antibiotic. So what is this biapenem? So this is the chemical structure of biapenem. It has a triazolone ring. So it's a second generation carbapenem. So it is very similar to meropenem, imipenem, and ertapenem in terms of its characteristics. So it is a second generation carbapenem. So this drug was first introduced in Japan in 2002. And so the main advantage of this drug, which has been hypothesized by this article which came from New Zealand, is some of the carbapenems, more so imipenem, is subject to hydrolysis by renal dihydropeptidase 1. So basically this compound undergoes hydrolysis by dihydropeptidase 1 and it reduces the potency of this drug. So to maintain the potency and to prevent this hydrolysis, imipenem, as you would know, is often given along in combination with cilastatin. Imipenem cilastatin is the molecule. This is to prevent hydrolysis of this molecule by renal dihydropeptidase 1, which gets produced in the body. So biapenem is postulated as being resistant to hydrolysis because of presence of 1-beta methyl group, which is present at the C1 position of this ring. So because of this, it becomes immune to hydrolysis and there is more stability to this molecule is what has been hypothesized. And another distinct advantage of biapenem is there is no risk of convulsions or seizures because as you would know, imipenem or for that matter, any carbapenem has a potential risk for seizure. So with biapenem, it is postulated that risk is less. And the risk being less is attributed to the presence of this triazolone ring, which is present on the side chain at position 2, and presence of 1-beta methyl group at the C1 position, which I mentioned. So another important aspect why seizure threshold is low is, so biapenem shows reduced binding to these GABA receptors because this GABA receptors is the one which causes the seizure. So there is reduced binding of this biapenem to these GABA receptors, which reduces its seizure threshold, is what has been postulated. So what is the mechanism of action of biapenem? So the mechanism of action is very similar to other carbapenems or beta-lactam antibiotics. where Biapenem binds to penicillin binding protein, which is present in the cell wall. This is the cell wall and it inhibits the cell wall synthesis. So there's another schematic representation. So if all these are Biapenums, this yellow one is the penicillin binding protein. So Biapenem binds to the penicillin binding protein and it prevents cell wall synthesis. So this is the way the Biapenem acts. So having understood it is very similar to carbapenem, more stable, has less seizure threshold. So let us look into the spectrum of antibacterial. It's very similar to other carbapenems. It has coverage on gram positive, gram negative, and anaerobes. So it has blanket cover on all these bugs. And more so, it is found to be effective against these escape organisms, which we read, which is E. coli, Serratia, Klebsiella, Acinetobacter, Pseudomonas, and Enterobacteriaceae. And in specific, Biapenem is shown to have more potency or more bactericidal effect on the Pseudomonas. So when you look at the in vitro activity, so you would see in vitro activity in gram-negative organisms. It is very similar to imipenem and meropenem. So the pink one is a Biapenem, the red one is imipenem, and the white one is meropenem. So in vitro, they found the MIC levels was less than 5 with Biapenem against certain organisms, mainly Serratia in some of the in vitro studies. But in vitro studies has shown good efficacy with low MICs, very comparable to other carbapenems. And this is the in vitro activity against gram positives. Even here you see the pink one is Biapenem. It is very similar to others. So in vitro activity is very similar to meropenem and imipenem with its efficacy with the MIC less than 5 in many of in some of the studies. And this is interesting, again, a study which has come from New Zealand, where they have compared with meropenem of the MIC concentrations at the MIC 50 and MIC 90. As you see, it is found to be sort of a much better with Biapenem as compared to meropenem with regards to its effectiveness. So now let's look into the tissue penetration. So Biapenem is shown to have good tissue penetration in the lung. It has good tissue penetration for all the urinary tract infections. And in ICU, we know that the commonest cause of sepsis and infection we see is the urinary tract. And it is also found to have good tissue penetration in the genitourinary tract and pelvic structures and effective against intra-abdominal infections. So basically, these are the commonest source of sepsis in our ICU, and it seems to have good coverage against all these infections. So let's look at when we talk about tissue penetration, so we need to have scientific evidence about whether there has been any studies to look at the tissue concentrations. So these are two studies which came from Japan, which has looked at the alveolar epithelial fluid lining levels. So to ascertain and determine that it has a good lung penetration to treat lung infections or hospital or ventilator associated pneumonia. So at 1 hour, they found that alveolar epithelial fluid lining levels of Biapenem was good, 3.5 plus or minus 1.2 micrograms per ml, and at 3 hours it was 1.3. And they looked at bronchial epithelial fluid lining. Even there, the concentrations were pretty good, showing that it has a good lung penetration up to the alveolar level and a good bronchial level, showing its effectiveness possibly against this infection. They looked at other body fluids. They looked at bile, bony tissues. Even there, they had a good sort of a concentration of 0.2 to 1.8. And they looked at gallbladder, synovia, maxillary, and ethmoid sinus. So it seems to have good tissue penetration even in sinusitis or gallbladder infections or synovia. And even in pelvic structures, specifically and in particular, it was found to be very good. It was 9.6 micrograms per gram of pelvic structure. So it seems to be a very good, it seems to have very good penetration, more so in the pelvic area, and genitopelvic area seems to have very good concentration. And lung also is found to have very good concentration. And it is also found to be present in sputum, pleural fluid, and other body fluids as well. So this is the tissue concentration. And another unique characteristic of Biapenem is we expect some of these antibiotics to have post-antibiotic effect. And for all the trainees, you would know this curve is very important. So you have this minimum inhibitory concentration, and this is the Cmax or the peak concentration. And this we call it as the area under curve, which we call it as a time above MIC. So what do we understand by post-antibiotic effect is even when the antibiotic level comes below this MIC, it shows effectiveness against the organism. So even at levels below MIC, Biapenem is shown to have suppression of these microbes. And it prevents regrowth of these organisms. And this suppression was found to be effective against both gram-negative and gram-positive organisms, with more so enhanced effect, enhanced post-antibiotic effect was found in Pseudomonas and Enterococcus faecalis. So this is the way they look. So, and most studies have shown more enhanced effect against Pseudomonas, and post-antibiotic effect also was pronounced in Pseudomonas and Enterococcus faecalis and faecium. So this is the way they look. And let's look into pharmacokinetics. So when you look at this, so they have compared the pharmacokinetics with imipenem, meropenem, panipenem, and ertapenem. As you see, the Cmax concentration was pretty good and slightly more than mero and imipenem. And protein binding also was found to be less. So which means to say it seems to have good peak concentrations, which is very useful for effective coverage against against certain bugs. And so they have looked at the Cmax concentration with different doses. They have looked at 150 mg, 300 mg, and 600. And as you see, there is a dose dependent increase in the peak concentration. And even there is a dose dependent increase in the area under curve. As you see at 600 mg, the peak concentration and area under curve was found to be maximal. That's why the dosage is 300 mg twice a day, which comes to 600 mg. And the urinary excretion, 9.7 to 23.4% of this molecule gets excreted in the urine. At 6 hours, 63.4% is excreted in the urine. At 12 hours, 64% is excreted in the urine. And what about renal dysfunction? So they have looked at the peak concentrations at different creatinine clearance of 23, 40, and 50. As you see, there has been no significant accumulation that happens in the renal dysfunction. So even in renal failure, this appears to be safe because there is no cumulative accumulation. Because even if at creatinine clearance of 23, you see the levels were not very huge and there was no cumulative sort of an accumulation that was observed. So common side effects of this Biapenem are, it can cause skin rash, pruritus, some GI disturbance, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, which is very common to most drugs. It can increase AST, ALT, and serum alkaline phosphatase, and there can be eosinophilia. So these are some of the side effects. So this is the profile of the drug. So now, obviously, as all the viewers and listeners, you would want to know how does it perform in the clinical trial? Did it really show promise in proving to be effective in clinical infection? So we need to look into trials. So there are about 6 trials that I will take you through where you will see whether this has performed well as compared to meropenem or imipenem that we commonly use. So this was one trial, which is an Indian phase 3 clinical trial. They predominantly looked at urinary tract infections. They have compared Biapenem versus imipenem cilastin. So they used 300 mg twice a day, which is the dose, because we saw at 600 mg, it attained a maximal Cmax and area under curve. They used in complicated UTI. Primary endpoint was to look at resolution of symptoms and to look at reduction in the colony forming units in the urine. Secondary endpoints was to look at safety at day 21. So they had 159 patients, 79 in Biapenem, 18 in imipenem. Clinical cure rates, there was no difference between Biapenem and imipenem. And microbiological cure rate also was the same. There was no difference. Adverse events were the same. And the common adverse events, which I mentioned, is nausea, vomiting, and headache. So these were the events. So all the studies that I will be talking about, you will see that this drug performed as good as meropenem and imipenem, and it was non-inferior. But none of the studies showed that it is superior to any of these drugs. So that will be your take-home message. So conclusions: Biapenem was non-inferior to imipenem cilastin. So and this study was done in 13 centers. As you see, predominantly centers were in south, 7 centers in south, 3 in west, 2 in north, and 1 in east. So which means it aligns to sort of microbiological flora we possibly see in this region. So this was a Chinese trial which came in 2013. They looked at Biapenem. So you saw Biapenem versus imipenem. This is Biapenem versus meropenem in both LRTI and UTI. They took patients with any of these infections. So here they used 300 mg twice a day, and meropenem they used 500 mg 8th hourly. So they took patients with either UTI or LRTI, and they gave these injections for 7 to 14 days based on the severity. So this study was done in 9 centers, multicentric randomized controlled trial. So they had 272 patients, 136 in Biapenem, 136 in imipenem. Clinical cure rate, as you see, there's no difference between Biapenem and meropenem. And microbiological cure rate also, there was no statistical difference between these two. Adverse events also, there was no statistically significant difference. And adverse events in this group was rash was present in 2.2% and GI disturbance in 1.5%. So that was the Chinese study. So this was a Swedish study where they looked at Biapenem versus Imipenem in intra-abdominal. So we saw UTI. The second one we saw UTI with LRTI. This is with abdominal infections from Sweden. So they compared Biapenem. Here they used higher dose, 300 mg, 8 hourly they used. So there 900 mg they've used compared with Imipenem and Cilastin, which was used 500 mg 6 hourly for 13 days. So 31 patients in this were males, 27 were females. In Imipenem, 43 were males, 17 were females. So they had 118 patients, Biapenem 58 and Imipenem Cilastin 60, mainly intra-abdominal. The clinical cure rates were 65.1% in Biapenem, 67. So again, non-inferior, no difference between Biapenem and Imipenem in intra-abdominal infections. So all these studies basically tell, although Biapenem is a new drug, it holds promise in being as effective as Imipenem and Meropenem, and it is not inferior. So that is what one could possibly deduce. And this was another Chinese study which again compared Biapenem versus Imipenem in respiratory and UTI. So again 300 mg 12 hourly and 500 mg 8 to 12 hourly was Imipenem, 7 to 14 days, 272. So the clinical cure rates, as you see, was slightly less, but this was not statistically significant. And microbiological cure rate, there was no difference between Biapenem. Adverse events was also the same. So that was a fourth Chinese study. So this is another one from Japan, where they compared Biapenem versus piperacillin tazobactam for predominantly LRTA. Because friends, as you know, for most LRTIs, I'm sure many would be using piperacillin tazobactam. So they compared whether Biapenem performs as good as piperacillin. So they used Biapenem again 300 mg twice a day, and piperacillin tazobactam was used at 2.25 to 4.5 grams 8th hourly. 106 patients, 53 in the Biapenem group and 53 in the piperacillin tazobactam. Clinical cure rate, there was no statistically significant difference as you see between these two groups. And even the microbiological cure rates were similar. And adverse events, they found some hepatotoxicity in Biapenem group. In piptazo, they found some nephrotoxicity, but there were no major life-threatening events. But what they found with piperacillin tazobactam is there was a better improvement in the chest X-ray and temperature at day 7. This was the only difference they found. Otherwise, overall outcomes, clinical cure rates, microbiological, there was no significant difference. So we finished around 5 trials, 5 randomized controlled trials comparing Biapenem with Meropenem, Imipenem, and piperacillin tazobactam in various infections, mainly UTI and LRTI. Now, the conclusive answer comes from meta-analysis. So this was a meta-analysis which came in 2016, looking at efficacy and safety of Biapenem in treatment of a meta-analysis of randomized. Here they took 6 randomized controlled trials and compared between Biapenem and other penems. And as you see, there is this diamond is in the center and P is not significant. So there's no difference between Biapenem and other molecules in this meta-analysis with 6 studies that they did. And this was another meta-analysis which came again from Chinese group where they only looked at UTI, where they have said carbapenem versus alternative antibiotics for treatment of complicated UTI. So they took only UTI and looked at whether there was any difference when you treat with Biapenem or any other penems. They took 19 studies, so 7,380 patients. So here what they found at the end was the Meropenem, Vaporbactam, Ertapenem, Biapenem. All these 3 were found to have higher clinical cure rates and microbiological success rate when they were used for UTI. And when it came to CRE, carbapenem resistant enterobacteriaceae, CRE, higher success rate was found to be better with Meropenem Vaporbactam. So that was the summary findings. And this is the meta-analysis comparing Biapenem with various other groups. And that was the summary findings where Biapenem with Meropenem Vaporbactam and Ertapenem had a higher superiority, but Meropenem Vaporbactam had a better cure rate in carbapenemase resistant enterobacteriaceae. So the take-home message and the summary of Biapenem is it's a new carbapenem with a broad spectrum antibiotic with coverage against gram-positive, gram-negative, and anaerobes. So it has effectiveness against all 3. And the advantage of Biapenem, as hypothesized, is more stable than Imipenem and Meropenem. And the more stability is due to its resistance to hydrolysis by renin dihydropeptidase 1 because of beta methyl group that is present at the C1 position. So that is the sort of explanation they've given. So hydrolysis by DHP is avoided, and Biapenem seems to have good tissue penetration into the lung, abdomen, genitourinary, and in the pelvic structures. So it seems to have a very good penetration in the pelvic structures, and it is found to be effective against Pseudomonas, and enhanced effect is found to be against Pseudomonas. And as you see, the 5 randomized controlled trials with 2 meta-analyses shows the clinical cure rates and the microbiological cure rates are very comparable to meropenem and imipenem, and even to that effect tazobactam. And it seems to hold promise because there has been an over usage of meropenem, at least in our hospital or in our region. So possibly this will come as a breather. One could possibly look at MICs. So because this drug is possibly not very much abused, so we may have a better sort of a coverage, and MICs also maybe possibly be low. So we need to look into our own data. And the good thing is it is well tolerated. It does not, the seizurogenic threshold, which is seen with imipenem and maybe with ertapenem, is much lesser because of the triazolone ring that is present, and that beta methyl group that is present at the C1 position. And it is well tolerated. The only side effects are rash, nausea, and vomiting. So thank you all. So I end with this beautiful quote: stay away from those people who try to disparage your ambitions. Small minds will always do that, but great minds will give you a feeling that you can become great too. Mark Twain. So thank you all.